Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and this afternoon we're going to look at the latest on Tropical Storm Fred and the latest on the hurricane outlook in the North Atlantic. Now, we were looking at disturbances over the last few days. I did put out a video on Monday looking at the disturbances out in the Atlantic, and I did say there was a very good chance at least one of them turned to a tropical depression and tropical storm, and we do have Tropical Storm Fred, which is now formed near to the Dominican Republic, and it is going to be on a track through the Caribbean towards Florida and could provide some issues over the next sort of week or so. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure to like and subscribe. Do remember to follow me on Twitter as well, links in the description. I'll have my UK forecast out this evening, so do make sure you stay tuned for that. So if we do start actually with this disturbance 1, which is a tropical wave, which is located east of eastern tropical Atlantic, several hundred miles southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands, and it continues to provide disorganized showers and thunderstorms, and there is some gradual development of this system is quite possible, and a tropical depression could form early next week while moving generally westwards at around 20 miles per hour. If we do have a look at the 5-day tropical outlook, you can see over the course of 5 days, it's got a 40% chance of forming, and it's following in the very similar track to Fred. So we'll have to keep an eye on how it does develop. And at this stage, it does look like sort of a classic Caribbean storm. And we'll just have to see how it does develop. Again, it's very uncertain how these things develop, as they are very localized systems at this early stage. So we just have to keep an eye on the National Hurricane Center. But if we do have a look at Fred, you can see at the moment, it's only got maximum sustained winds of 40 miles per hour, and it's moving quite quickly at 16 miles per hour west-northwest through the Caribbean, and we'll just have to see whether it does get upgraded soon, and it's looking like it's going to be potentially getting towards Hurricane 1, Category 1 storm, depending on exactly its track, and I'll elaborate that when we look at it further in a minute. But if we do have a look at the Eastern Pacific at the moment, we have two other tropical storms, Kevin and Linda. Kevin is heading out into the Pacific, so is Linda as well, so not really going to be impacting any land masses. Linda is forecasted to become a hurricane shortly, but again, in the middle of the ocean, so really not going to be impacting any land masses. So if we do zoom in on Tropical Storm Fred, if we do have a look at its warning cone statistics, there isn't too much data on it so far. As it becomes closer to America, it will have more and more data will come in, looking at sort of rainfall amounts, whether we see some hurricane force winds. But at this stage, it's probably just best to have a look at its track. And these forecasts from NOAA are actually very, very good. They are normally the hurricane does actually stay within these tracks, and very rarely does it deviate. So at the moment, it's looking like it's very likely to be going up through the Dominican Republic, across Haiti, and then to the north of Cuba, and then potentially heading up towards sort of the west coast of Florida. And at that stage, it could be potentially a very strong tropical storm, if not a Category 1 or Category 2 hurricane, looking at how the models are developing it. So if we do see at the moment, we have got tropical storm warnings and tropical storm watches across many Caribbean islands through Haiti and Dominican Republic. We can see actually the National Hurricane Center track does downgrade it slightly over the next sort of 12 to 24 hours to a tropical depression as it crosses the Dominican Republic and Haiti. But as it goes out to open water once again, it's going to be upgraded to a tropical storm, and depending on its track, if the centre of the storm goes more over land, it potentially will be a bit weaker. Whether if it stays over water, getting more fuel, it could potentially get stronger. Now, there still will be pretty severe consequences through Cuba, but if it does stay more offshore, then those winds will be a bit lighter. But at the moment, is looking like more a rainfall event, simply because the winds are only around 40 miles an hour sustained at the moment. But they could be quickly upgraded, just depending on its exact track and environmental conditions. But in the longer term, towards sort of Friday, Saturday and Sunday, you can see it's tracking towards Florida. We'll really have to keep an eye on whether it heads up straight through the Florida Panhandle or whether it goes down the west coast, providing, again, quite significant impacts potentially there. So if we do have a look at the latest satellite data from the weather nerds, you can see disturbance 1 out here in the Atlantic. Very disorganized area of storm clouds. And at the moment, nothing too much is happening with that, but it could get upgraded very quickly. We'll have to keep an eye on how it does develop. And then you can see Tropical Storm Fred just to the southeast right now of the Dominican Republic, heading up, and we'll just really have to keep an eye what happens with that. So if we do zoom in on Tropical Storm Fred, you can see how it has got a well-defined sort of centre to it now, but it has got a lot of disorganised outer bands. We've got quite a lot of thunder activity just to its north. It is a small storm at the moment, but I suspect as it upgrades into a stronger tropical storm, as it heads through more open water past Dominican Republic and Haiti, it will expand very quickly and get some quite deep convection going. So if we do have a look at the infrared for Tropical Storm Fred, we can see at the moment, you do see it has got some deep convection towards its centre, but again, pretty disorganised at this stage. And we'll just have to keep an eye on what happens over the next few days with its convection. But it's starting to form a centre of the storm, but still reasonably disorganised as it heads towards some of the Caribbean islands. So if we do have a look at the latest radar, we can see it just off the radar at the moment. Not quite in sort of detailed radar, but you can see it storms to the north, and we've got sort of its outer bands here. As the centre of the storm is just to the southeast. At this stage, it's of course disorganised. As it becomes further towards America, we should be able to get it a bit more into radar range with a better sort of resolution on that, which should give us a better idea on how it is progressing. But at this stage, it does look like it could become a decently strength storm that we really will need to keep an eye on. And again, if it does run up through Florida and up the east coast, that's when it could start interacting with the jet stream. We could be giving some influence towards the weather in the UK. So if we lastly have a look at the latest GFS, we'll have a look at Meteo Seal. If we do have a look down here towards the bottom corner, you can see the other storms out in the Pacific at the moment heading out into the Pacific Ocean. But if you just keep an eye on here, it's nothing too significant at this stage. But as we head through this latest run, you do start to see something form just as it goes out. Something form more significantly as it goes out into the open water. You can see there a storm just to the north of Haiti, but only really by sort of Saturday do we see something significant start to develop just to the west of Florida. If we go in there, you can just see the small feature quite significantly deepening as it heads towards Florida. And that's where we could see some significant impacts. So the GFS is starting to latch on to this deepening of this low pressure system and this tropical storm Fred. But at this stage, it's not particularly well modelled by the GFS, as you can see by that. It's really not showing much over the next 3 or 4 days in terms of strength. As it again is a small disorganised feature at this stage, but there is definitely the potential for it to become quite significant. And as it heads up the coast, becomes into a larger area of low pressure, as it heads inland before sort of disintegrating a little bit. So we'll really have to keep an eye on it. If it does rapidly deepen over the next couple of days, we could see it maintain its tropical storm strength, potentially get towards hurricane force winds and hurricane strength over the next few days, and then it will very much show up on the GFS charts, and it will hopefully be in radar range soon, and we'll have a lot more data on it. But at this stage, we just need to keep an eye on it, not only for the weather in the Caribbean and Florida, but how it could start to impact the UK's jet stream over towards the last third of August, as again, putting that much hot air and energy up into the atmosphere is going to have knock-on effects downstream of the jet stream. So again, we'll just have to keep an eye on it. So anyway, thanks for watching. Make sure you stay tuned for my forecast later, and I'll see you again for another video soon.